Carmen Johnson.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, I appreciate the invite. It was really cool meeting you the other day.
It really was. We'll get into that, like how we met and everything here shortly. For the record, can you state your name, the company you're affiliated with, and your title?
Absolutely. My name is Carmen Johnson. I'm the Chief Financial and Administrative Officer. You might ask what administrative means. It means that I also have HR and finance in my bucket, so that's a lot of fun. I work for a company called O.R. Colon Associates. Everyone says, what is that? So I'm going to give you the brief bio on that. We do land acquisition for large infrastructure projects. So think anybody that needs road, airport, environmental impact, transmission lines, distribution lines, cell phone towers. If you need land for infrastructure, then our company works on that.
Nice. Very well. Before the title and the position and the name, like who are you at your core?
Oh, I love that. The authentic self. We just had a conversation about that. I have a very interesting background of how I got here. And at my core, I believe that everybody deserves an opportunity. And we have to be involved in finding that opportunity. So don't get me wrong, but there are no victims in life. We just have choices. Choices about how we handle situations, what happens when situations happen, and really looking at our backgrounds and making opportunities for ourselves. And I believe that choices define you.
Sounds like you're leading into ownership, taking ownership and accountability for oneself.
Absolutely. But also ownership and accountability for you as an adult, right? We all have baggage. Some of us have really terrible upbringings and ways that we got our stories. Our stories are our stories. The stories are true. And as adults, we get to decide how we deal with those stories, what the story defines.
Yeah, and we all learn over the years it's not good to act out of or react out of emotion, you know.
And it's hard not to react out of emotion, right? It's really hard not to. And where we met, I was talking a lot about resilience and how to deal with ambiguity. And we all have triggers. It's learning how to deal with those triggers and how to not let them trigger you in negative ways.
Right.
There are positive ways, but we don't want to show up negatively.
Absolutely. The symposium at Winthrop University, that's where we met. So was that February?
It was February.
February or something like that?
Yes, it was February.
What was the moment in your life that really led you to where you are today that you can think back on?
Well, I told you I was going to decide how authentic I wanted to be, and I am an authentic person. So I'm going to actually go to childhood. Okay. The thing that I don't talk about a lot is I grew up in a very dysfunctional home. My mother was an addict. My father was her dealer. And that creates an interesting story. But it's not a great story when you're a kid, and it's certainly not a great story when you're 20, when you're trying to find yourself. And that story is really what defined what I call my enough syndrome. You know, I'm never going to be good enough. I'm never going to work hard enough. I'm never going to be pretty enough. I'm never going to be skinny enough. I'm never going to reach enough of my goals. Put enough behind anything in the world. And I will tell you, I have an enough syndrome. And what that comes out as, tell me I can't, and I'll show you I can. Right. I promise you I can do it.
Always up for a challenge.
Yes.
That's one thing that people can get tripped up on throughout life, trying to prove things to other people.
Yes.
And I think we all got that innate thing in ourselves to want to prove people wrong. I don't know what that is. If that's just part of the human condition, if there is such a thing.
It's both negative and positive, right?
The yin and the yang, right? So, at what point on your journey did you feel, or did you have that acknowledgement moment to where you were aware that you were good with both numbers and people?
People came later. Mm-hmm. In my youth, I was driving. And I like to use the analogy of a speedboat. I was always moving forward, never looking back at the wake behind me. I had no idea what it was leaving behind. Mm-hmm. I just kept moving. Right. And if you happen to be in the wake, I apologize for that as my adult self. But if you happen to be in the wake, I probably didn't even understand what I did, let alone that I did it. And as I matured and as I had children and as I watched the dysfunctions of my own parenting, which thank God, if my children are listening to this, I hope they would tell you that they are amazing friends of mine today as young adults. But as young children, it wasn't easy. And I looked back at some point in my life and I went, oh my gosh, what have I done to my own children after my upbringing? And here I've done it to them, and went through a repair phase, a phase of life where I was very intent on what it looked like to do self-discovery, on what it looked like to improve oneself. And in that, one of my promises to self was to step back when I created the wake and make my apologies.
Right.
So I still make a wake. I move fast. But when I recognize it, I always step back and bring everybody back up with me.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that I had came in my mind was to like not dwell on the past, but do a healthy reflection.
Exactly.
I think that's very important. And, you know, looking back on certain bridges, you try to rebuild them, but some of them can't be rebuilt, you know.
Well, it's how we grow.
It's part of growth, yeah.
I don't know that they can't be rebuilt. They get built differently. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we make a decision that we don't need to build them. Absolutely. There are some things we don't need to have in our space
you gotta keep
to be healthy.
Yeah. Mental health is a very top priority for me.
As it should be for everybody. There are things that give us energy and things that take energy away from us. Find the things that give you energy.
Right. Now, so you've had around about 30 years in HR, finance, those two departments, also operations.
Yes.
Reflecting back to the reflection thing, can you think of some pivotal moments that you had in the decision making that got you where you are today?
Yeah, one of my very first was, 20-something, let's say 25 years old, and I'm from Wyoming. I'm from a small town in Wyoming, and my first job was for a construction company. And my very first project for said construction company for males in their 60s was to do a cost analysis on did we rent a semi or did we purchase one? Very simple cost analysis. Mm-hmm. So you would think. So I do this cost analysis and I walk in and I'm super excited and nervous. It's my very first big project and my very first time in a boardroom, and I've got all these men there, and I bring my papers out and I hand it to them, and a man stands up and starts yelling at me. The only thing wrong with this company is a woman's making this decision, and he throws my papers across the room. And I went, wow, okay. This is the moment in life that I'm realizing I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to walk out. I'm going to take it. I'm going to take it and I'm going to give it back. And before that moment, I don't know that I had that in me. Maybe I did. I had a tough upbringing, so I was a tough child, but I hadn't had a tough career. Mm-hmm. I hadn't worked with people that told me I didn't know what I was doing. And that was my first HR moment. Wow. As well as my first finance moment, right? Because they came together. And I was in small town Wyoming where this was acceptable. Just was. It was acceptable that this man talked to me. Nobody was going to say anything about it. So I came out of that moment knowing that how I led was going to look very different from that. I knew that I needed to leave with compassion and heart and lead with authority and expectation at the same time, because you can't have both. Yeah, I love teachable moments like that. Mm. You know, I kind of told you a little story before we got, I hit the record button. And I learned, from past jobs not to, dwell on, oh, they treated me like this, or I saw them treating people like that. I just know how not to treat people. That's right. Take the negative and turn it into a positive. Use that information. And use those, teachable moments as fuel, as motivation. Inspire yourself and also inspire others. You know what I mean? I agree. And you take those teachable moments and you learn how to create influence from them. Mm. So maybe in the first one, I had no influence, right? But 30 years later, I have influence. I've created that through time, and I've created that through resilience of not giving up. And yeah, you knocked me down once, maybe even twice, but I'm going to keep coming. And that resilience is the key to getting to where you want to go. 100%. We talked about that a little bit too. What's next in your life? Yeah. Just keep going. Was there ever a time on this path that you doubted yourself? Every day. You had to make a huge pivot. Every single day. Is there one really big one that stands out though? Imposter syndrome is real. Yeah. It is real. I grew up disadvantaged, poor, in a ghetto. I remember somebody saying to me, "You didn't grow up in a ghetto, you grew up in a trailer park." I was like, wow, that tells me a lot about what you know from socioeconomic disadvantaged.
Yep.
Whether I grew up in a project or a trailer park, the fact is I grew up in a home full of drug dealers. So I got what that looked like. And then I entered this business world recognizing that I was smart, and I didn't know that growing up. So I went through a part in life where I distanced from my family because the only way that I could be somebody different was to remove myself from it. Yep. And then going into a life I didn't know. Every single day I walked in going, I'm not good enough. They're going to see through the facade. They're going to see that I'm not like them. They're going to judge me for X, Y, and Z. And every day I showed up again. And every day I did it one more time until I started believing that I was better, that I was different, that I wasn't what I grew up in. But every day I had to show up and tell myself that. Same with work. My resiliency got me here, but trust me, I've done 1,000 projects, not all of them perfect. And when you don't do them perfect and you look back and you're like, oh gosh, somebody please don't recognize that.
Yeah.
Right? So we're not perfect. And we're not perfect in other situations. You might find me perfect in one situation where somebody else can't stand me. It's just, we all have, again, different triggers and things that get us moving. And those things that get us moving, different people attract to different things.
Absolutely. You can't please everybody.
You can't.
Please don't live your life like that, trying to please everybody. You'll lose yourself.
100%.
It's tough. What's something about your journey that people may not expect?
About my journey, well, I think I told you about my upbringing. That's usually the one that people are like, what? You know, True. It's, you've done well, you're successful. I would say that success is different for everybody. Mm-hmm. And when I look at my life and I look at success, I can remember the day that I got promoted to CFO. It was a big day for me. And I was sad. Every goal I had ever created, I achieved. And now I didn't have a goal.
Had a clean slate.
I had no goal.
Back to the drawing board.
Back to the drawing board. And that was the day that I stepped back and I went, I did it with a cost. I did it with a huge cost. I did it with leaving my children behind in the wake. I did it without raising my boys to be men. I did it as a single parent and not having enough support. And I wonder, I won't say wish, I wonder how life would have been different had I slowed down, had I stayed back, and had I supported my children better in their youth. Now, I will say I'm an amazing adult mom. My son has his own business. I help him develop it, grow it. He's doing really well. He's very successful. So I know I'm part of that.
Go ahead and give him a shout out.
Truist Construction, if you need a general contractor, he's the best.
Nice.
He's awesome. Built his own home, has done many renovations in town, and is building a subdivision now.
Wow.
At 30 years old.
Congratulations to him.
Yes, I agree. And I know I'm part of that. I know that every time something comes on, I can be part of that. The thing I learned from him is, do you need your mom or your business partner? Because those are not the same people. Those do not show up in the same way. And I try to ask that question when he comes to me. How do you need me to show up right now? Because if you need your mom, that's a different thing than your business partner.
Yeah. Like you literally wear different hats when it comes to that.
Literal different hats.
Is that the one? Does he do jiu-jitsu?
He's the one that does the jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, see, he know about that resilience. At what age did he start?
He didn't start until an adult, maybe 24.
Okay. He's getting that resiliency up there.
Well,
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna give you the story. He might kill me if he listens to this. Might not either. We had an armed home invasion, and he was 15 years old. He was beaten brutally, and he was beaten till the hammer on the gun was broke off. And the next morning, he says to me, he says, Mama, I don't know why God saved me, but I know it's my purpose to figure it out. And he took a few years to figure out what that meant for him in his world. And then he went to seminary. And then he started his business. And when he started his business, he said to me, you know, Mom, I thought I was going to get into youth, and I was going to do youth pastoring or ministering or, you know, seed plants, playing basketball. He said, but the truth is, I need to be working every day with people that need to hear the news, not the people that are in the church.
Yeah.
And that's what he did. He started his general contracting business.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. How does that make you feel when you look back and, like you said, you weren't the mother part role, like, you know what I'm saying? You felt that, but then you had the opportunity to help him in his business.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel? Like, if you can just like put that in one word.
Honored.
That's
Honored.
powerful stuff right there. Single mama, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Look what you've done.
I have an amazing son who is married to an amazing woman who has an amazing family, and I believe will be married forever and raise a very cool family. I can't remiss to say I have 3 other children, though. So it would not be nice to say, not mention them, but this one is doing some amazing things and started out in all the wrong ways.
Gotcha. We're going to switch gears. Thank you for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
He's 15 years old, you said, right, when it happened? Yeah. So we're going to switch gears and talk about where we met.
Yeah.
The Winthrop Symposium. It was based on, I want to say change management, but that's specifically what you talked about that caught my attention about you. But just about like AI in the workplace and like college students going into the workplace and stuff like that. What did you take mostly from that symposium itself?
I thought the symposium was great. And what I took as a business leader is we need to help our children be more prepared for what the future workforce is going to look like. So I will say to here and all your audience that I believe strongly that we will have no shortage of jobs in the future. So people that are worried about not having a job or AI taking over your job, that's just plain not true. What is true is AI is going to change your job every single day. And you're going to do it differently, and you're going to have to be resilient, and you're going to have critical thinking and problem solving, and you're going to have to think in bigger terms about what that looks like, because it's going to be constantly changing, and ambiguity is going to be the key. And people that have trouble with change are going to have a difficult time in the future workforce, because where AI can automate, it will. We're not going to get our hair cut from a robot. At least I'm not. But even in my son's business as a general contractor, do not think I'm not going to automate all the bookkeeping and all of the things that don't need 2 hands to do. And that'll be the way of the future. But we do need workers. We need all levels of workers. We need them everywhere. How the future education system teaches this, I don't know. Because they are used to teaching textbook style. And what we need in the future is behavioral things. The people that do really well and are successful learn more successful. There's lots of success to be had out there. But the people that really understand interpersonal dynamics and the emotional intelligence, they will rise further and faster than those that don't. And we all see this in the people we know. And some people are more difficult to work with because they get angry, or don't adapt quickly, or they can't change, and they don't move fast, right? And others plow through things, like I was saying, leaving the wake behind me. Others plow through things and don't see what they're impacting either. So it takes people that have good, genuine ability to understand other people to interpret all that and understand the why. So change management is about how we deal with change. How resistant are we to change? How resilient are we with change? How adaptable are we with change? How quickly can we change? And the pace of change today is faster than we've ever seen it. When we think about us as kids, before me, the calculator, Promise it was before me. So in the 1960s, and we're coming up with the scientific calculator, and the scientific calculator is the new cool thing, and schools won't adopt them because they don't trust it. And then we come to our generation, and we've got computers and internet, and think about how that took off. And now we're at AI. Let me tell you what I did today. True story. I used Claude, and I thought it would be really cool in my son's attic to put in a Ninja Warrior course for my toddler grandbaby. I was like, this would be really cool. And I'm like, how do you design that? What do you do? So I'm talking to Claude, and I'm telling Claude all this, and prints me out a whole diagram of what to do and how to do it. Supply list, the whole bit. It was beautiful. But take it one step further. I then took that plan it created me, and I uploaded it to PowerPoint and said, create me a persuasive presentation for my son asking if I can make the best grandchild gift ever and win the #1 award. And PowerPoint just wrote the presentation for me. I did nothing. I sat there and worked while it worked in the background. It did it all.
You're brilliant.
This is our future. Yeah. I'm not brilliant. So first of all, let's be clear. That's a tool. That's not me. That's a tool. I learned how to use a tool. That's the future. Learning agility. How do we get there further, faster, quicker? Being curious. How do we become curious?
I'm very curious. And let me ask you this, because I think you did mention Claude. Is it Claude or Claude?
Claude. Claude. Claude.
Given what I do, I use ChatGPT on a regular basis.
Yeah.
How would I distinguish between when I should use chat for certain things versus Claude?
Great question. So they're both great at different things.
Right.
From a marketing perspective, I think that chat's really wonderful. I think that it gives you great bullet points, how to do your Instagram post and give you great ideas, create some great visuals for you. Really good at that. Claude, I would say, is more business analytics. So I'll give you another example. This is a true example. About 2 months ago, it's after I met you. It was literally after I met you. I went to a girlfriend's house. She happens to pastor a small C church. And she said to me, she says, I have to do this profit and loss statement. I've never done one before. I have all my bank statements here. What do you think? And I'm looking at her bank statements somewhere on her phone as pictures. Not kidding you. They weren't even downloaded. They were pictures. And I said, friend, can you get into your bank account and download the activity for 12 months? She says, yeah, I can. I said, okay, do that for me. I then took 12 months of activity. I uploaded it into Claude, and I said, Claude, please create me a profit and loss statement with categories with 12 months and total it for the year. And walked away and had a glass of wine with my friend and came back, and it was done.
Boom.
Boom. Just like that. Okay. So it's a tool.
Yeah.
And people are afraid of the tool because they don't understand the tool, and it's the big new thing. And yes, it's learning. It is machine learning. It is learning. It is learning about me every time that I do something. Now, unless we're going to hibernate somewhere, we need to adapt.
We have to.
We have to. And I'd say it's getting pretty hard to hibernate somewhere in this world either.
Yeah. It is.
So Claude I would use for more of an analysis, introspective type of situation. Really great with finance like that.
Okay. Oh, so back to the symposium. Was there anything that you heard that kind of changed your perspective on business and everything?
Well, no. Nothing that I heard that changed my perspective. But what I heard was, even though there were other people on that panel with me, a lot of people still didn't understand. Right? Some of the people that were talking about how they're interacting with it in their jobs, not how they're choosing to create it to interact with us for a bigger idea.
Wow.
Right? Be curious again. So yeah, my work created an agent that now says I need to put all this stuff in, and it analyzes my invoice against my employee list and says, okay, these two things are different. That's awesome. It does it for you. But thinking bigger and creating it my income statement example, right?
Right.
Those are the people that are going to do really well. The other thing I really learned from that symposium is I am more valuable than I've ever been in my life because I have institutional knowledge to create those bots. The kids coming up today have no idea.
Yeah.
They need me now to help them make it. But once it's made, what do we do? I don't know.
Like I said, brilliant. Why do you think people are so resistant to change? Because it's scary? Is that the reason why?
I think fear drives us all. I use the term blameless problem solving all the time at work. I'm known for this. Just try it. Just try it. What's going to happen? Okay, you messed up. We'll fix it. Who cares? Some people are so driven by fear that they never try anything. So think about sports. I don't run. I am not a runner. I am not fast, and I don't want to learn to run. Is it fear? Maybe. Maybe I don't want to fall. I don't want to look like a fool. I don't want to break my ankle, whatever it is, right? I remember baseball. I played baseball when I was a kid, and I remember the girls laughing at me when I swung and missed the ball, right? So we have fears that we create when we don't do things right.
Yeah.
If we can learn not to be fearful of it and look at it as an experiment, as being naturally curious and it being fun, how different is that?
I know all about it. Like I said, ever since I surrendered. So, you know what I'm saying?
Fear drives us.
And all that shame goes away. I'll swing and miss 11 times. So what? Swing to 12.
That's right.
Might be a home run.
Agree.
Grand slam, as they say. So when most organizations try to implement change, what would you say is one of the biggest mistakes that you've seen?
We forget the people aspect.
Yeah.
You asked me about HR in the beginning, and what we tend to do as humans. I told you, that's why. Because I said so. We do it as parents too, right? Hey, I get it, but I told you, get in the shower. We don't know that the shower head's broken because we didn't give them enough time to tell them that, right? Yeah. So change really requires us to step back and listen. Listen to everybody around us. Figure out what the true fears are. Why don't you want to move forward? What is it I don't know that you know? How do we overcome that obstacle? What are the things that we need to do or not do in order to make change less scary?
Got to get out of your own way.
Got to get out of your own way. I hate to be cliche,
but a lot of these conversations I have lead back to that, us getting out of our own way. Whatever the inner demons, so you to say, or mental health things that are going on, we got to heal before we can even be successful at this stuff,
I agree. I agree.
I wasn't trying to go on a tangent, sorry.
No, but I do agree. I think we're all broken. We're all human. We are all broken at some level. There is no such thing as perfection, but yet every one of us has created a view of our expectation of others. And when we hold our expectation to somebody else, how unfair is that? Nobody will ever live up. The only person we can be accountable to is us.
Yep.
And we tend to worry about what everybody else thinks. And when we do that, we get stuck.
How do you lead people through change instead of forcing them?
For me, and I believe that we'd find this in the ADKAR model too, but for me, I find you really have to listen. And listening can be different in different people in different ways. Some person just needs to feel heard. Just let them put it all out there. What are the concerns that are happening? Not all things can be acted on, right? We know that. But let them feel seen and heard.
Active listening.
Yes.
For some, right?
Yes. Others want to have a voice in it.
Yeah.
Did you think of? No, I didn't. Thank you for bringing that up. I'm so glad you did, because we're going to save somebody else from going through that.
Yeah. It's kind of like I'm sorry, like a validation, not validation, but just knowing that you came up with a good idea and you're actually part of the solution. You're part of the village.
Absolutely.
In a sense,
Collaborating, yeah. I think is incredibly important. We don't do enough of it. We have a tendency to be lone wolves, right? And in corporate jobs, a lot of times we create cubicles where this is your task, and this is your task, and this is your task. But when we collaborate, we are all more and bigger together.
Yeah, you see how the different pieces create the whole.
That's right.
I was just thinking about this story I told you about let's have that meeting so we can all get on the same page to clear up some of this. At the end of the day, it created a toxic environment. But no, you want to look at the data instead of back to what you said, the human side. We have to maintain that human connective tissue, and that's why I feel like I'm important in what I'm doing. And the one question that I had at the symposium, I wasn't able to answer it. One other lady asked a question, like it was because of a time restraint. But I had walked up to the dean, Saxena, shout out to him. And the question I was going to ask that I asked him was, do you see, if any, value in maintaining human connections? And it's obviously like a rhetorical question, like, yes, because he agreed. I'm pretty sure anyone with a logical mindset, the way they think, would agree to that. And I'm like, well, how are these messages getting put out to the public, like here in Raquel, for like how are they seeing these conversations that we're having? So that's why, again, thank you for coming here, because what you were talking about was very important, and like it clicked with me. I felt like you were just talking to me. You know what I mean?
Yes, and I will add to that. I say all the time, you have to keep the human in the loop.
Got to.
We do not want to be machines. Humans, we are human. We are infallible. We will always have feelings. And the machine is being built by humans. So we can create the machine to be better too, right? I truly do this. Chat. I just had a hard conversation with an employee, and here's my perception of the situation. What could I do better next time? If we only cared enough to do better next time. And chat gave me the response back. The other thing I do, and I challenge you to do this today, actually, because now that we have this really cool conversation going on, take the transcript afterwards and put it into chat and ask it for feedback.
I'll do that.
It's amazing what a meeting transcript will give you. It'll give you so much information about the dynamics of the situation, about what you could do differently, better, how you could use that for your marketing to better and elevate. It's a gold mine of information, and the analysis that it does is so much quicker than our human brains.
I can do that to write a book too, right?
I have done that.
Yeah, I remember you mentioned something about how you wrote a book and chat helped you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you think about a time where you tried to implement change, but it didn't go as planned? And like, what did you learn from that?
Yeah, I have 1,000 change situations that didn't go as planned. I could use those from business situations or personal situations. My son that we've been talking about started his business. And when he started his business, one of the first things he did is he was working as a construction worker, and he had done some work in my house. And he was so excited about it, so incredibly excited about it. And I walked down and I said, well, you shouldn't have put the tiles together like that. What you should have is blah, blah, blah. And what did I do? I shut him down. He didn't want to hear it again. And I realized it. Again, the learning. I realized it. And the next time he did a really good project. Here's my change moment. I went and I looked at his project and I was like, you are amazing. You have come so far. I am so proud of you. And when you're ready, can I give you some feedback about it?
Hey.
Now, how was that different?
It's literally not what you say. It's like literally how you say it.
100%. And that's why the human has to stay in it.
You have to.
That's why we need emotional intelligence. And that's why change is so important. Now, I didn't get into the basics of change on how we identify what the change is, right? But just changing the way I approached the change made all the difference. There's nothing here to be scary. There's nothing to be fearful about. We're all doing the best we can. Mm-hmm. We're going to continue to do the best we can. Nobody fails on purpose. So why do we treat people like they do?
I wonder. That's a good question. Is it one of those things that will like some people kind of what's it called project because they're dealing with something on the inside and they see it in somebody else, so they kind of like I said, projecting. I wonder if that's part of it. Like, cause I know I make a lot of mistakes, and I have a 10-year-old, and she makes mistakes, and sometimes I have to sit back and be like, "There's no reason to even get mad at her because I've been through that tenfold."
That's right.
Like, you have to give people grace.
100%, you have to give them grace.
You sound like me. Like I'm continuously checking myself every day.
I'm much better today than I was 10 years ago, right?
Hey, you and me both.
I haven't always been proud of myself, you know. Today I genuinely am proud of myself on most days. Most days. But that's not always the case.
The wrong decision is indecision.
Ooh, you read that.
Where did that come from?
I believe wholeheartedly that we sit and analyze things and continue to analyze things and think, what if I did do this? Well, should I do this? What if it changed? If I just wait 3 more months, maybe it'll be different. We define ourselves through our choices.
Yep.
And when we choose not to do anything, that is a choice. So if you're experiencing something bad and you want to get out of it, choose to get out of it. If you have a bad partner, choose to do something about it. Not saying get out of it, but choose to do something about it. When we choose indecision, we just sit on the wheel, on the hamster wheel. And the hamster wheel keeps turning. If you want to get off the roller coaster, step off of it.
Amen. It's a beautiful thing, like, just talking to you, because, again, it's just like you're preaching to me in a way. That hamster wheel is rough and rugged and exhausting, but we're going to keep it positive. How do you balance speed versus clarity when making high-stakes decisions?
I have been given a gift that not everybody has. I do understand complexity in a different way. Mm-hmm. My mom used to always say, give her lemons, she'll turn it into lemonade, because I just have the ability to act. So, you get in a car accident and the first thing you do is call the insurance company and then you blah, 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 all the things. But some people freeze. My daughter got in a car accident the other day and she started crying and called me. She didn't call the police. She didn't call the insurance company. She called me, right? Now, she knew who to call, so do not get me wrong. I'm very grateful to be the person she called. I'm very grateful to be the person she called. But having the ability to know what to do next is super important. And for me, whenever crisis happens, I get extremely calm. Probably because I grew up in chaos. Quite frankly, my resiliency is very high, and I know that it's very high. I know it's abnormally high. And it's probably because I grew up in chaos. And instead of going to chaos, I go to calm. So when anything happens, I'm literally focused in and dialed in. Okay, how are we going to get out of this? We've got 5 different things that could happen. And then what's the worst case scenario if this happens? And I will go through them like that to make a decision very quickly.
That's an amazing gift.
It is a gift. I recognize it's a gift. Yeah. But I am a person that will look at all ends. Mm-hmm. I also am a person that, unfortunately or fortunately, I will always look at what's worst case scenario. And can I live with that? So those are also important. If worst case scenario happened, is it livable? All right, then how worried do I need to be about it? And the other one I am really good at, and this is trained behavior. So I'm going to give this one to you because this is trained behavior.
Thank you.
I'm going to care in 5 minutes, and I'm going to care in 5 days, and I'm going to care in 5 months, and a year, and 5 years. And how I act may depend on that answer. Because if I'm not going to care in 5 minutes, I'm going to let it roll right off of me. I am not going to join in. As my friend says, I did not buy tickets to that event. So sometimes I make choices based on that filter.
Can you think of a time where you had to make a decision that was unpopular, but it was very necessary? Maybe it was like unpopular to like your colleagues, but you knew it had to be done, like your peers, or maybe even like upper management. But you're pretty much part of upper management. Right?
I am part of upper management, and I do this actually quite frequently.
Yeah.
I am known, and it's because of the human aspect. I am known for when somebody makes a decision, even if I agree with the decision, if I think somebody else may find it unfair, to point it out. Guys, I get that you want to give that person a bonus. I agree. They've worked really hard and they probably deserve that bonus. But what is Sally going to say? Because she's been working really hard too. And what are you going to say to Sally when she comes to you and says, that's not fair? And how are we going to handle that situation? So I tend to look through that lens. I believe in equity. I don't believe in the good old boys network. Does that mean I don't have favorites? Of course I have favorites. We all have favorites. We all see that young person that has high potential that you want to put a lot into. You should put a lot into them.
Right. Give everybody an equal, like you said, equity is very important. Give everybody the equal chance, that opportunity.
That's right.
To see what they can do. So what separates a good leader from a great one, would you say?
We've been hitting on it right here, but I do think it's emotional intelligence.
And how about this? Instead of good leader, or how about a good leader versus an effective, good versus effective?
I will still say emotional intelligence.
Right.
When you can show you care and you will support a human being through thick and thin, they will stay by your side and they will continue to work hard. I'm a breast cancer survivor.
I was going to ask you about that. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah. I remember when I got sick and I had all of my team asking them to step up. I needed more out of them because I had to take some time off and I needed more and I was asking for more. And they learned a lot through that time and they all grew and they all developed in really phenomenal ways. And part of being a good leader is that I had people that stepped up for me. They stepped up for me because I'd always been there for them. Mm-hmm. I was there when they needed me. I was there when they had babies, got married, whatever. And it wasn't a question. And I've always been that human, keeping the human in it. Mm-hmm. You know, one of my top performers, her dad died. And it was very sudden and very hard for her. And I'm like, do whatever you need. Take time off. Go to the funeral. I paid for the hotel for her to go to her dad's. Go. Right?
Yeah.
How do I help you? When you truly care about people, they will always work hard for you.
Yeah, that's some good reciprocity right there. You got to be careful about your circle and people you let in like that. You know, a lot of people don't reciprocate that kind of love and that grace. You know what I mean?
Well, that's about your circle and who you let in.
Personal and business, you know, all aspects of life, really.
I learned this during breast cancer. Honestly, this is when I really learned it. I had talked a little while ago about energy. I learned during breast cancer that I had a finite amount of energy. And things either gave me energy or they took energy away because I didn't have enough. And I learned that more in that period of my life than ever before. And I literally excused people from my life because I learned that I had friendships that no longer treated me well. Yeah, they were sucking it out of me.
Like Pastor Kurt, you can't give all your oil away. You can't.
No. And I didn't have enough. And now people are asking things of me that I'm just like, I can't do. And my love language, I'm an acts of service. So that's probably no surprise to you when you and I talked about this podcast. And I said, of course, this is the gift that I have, right? So share the gift. So during breast cancer, I didn't have it to give. So please don't ask me for something I don't have. I learned it. And my circle got a little bit smaller and a lot bigger.
You got your peace of mind, though.
Yeah.
It's so underrated. Peace of mind.
It is.
Some people go out their lives and never even see it on the horizon.
I agree.
What does a healthy workplace look like for you?
I believe, and I hope to believe, that I have exactly that.
Sounds like it.
By design. Mm-hmm. And I have worked in toxic workplaces. I've worked where people don't care and people don't listen, and the person in the cubicle next to you might be trying to step all over you and might be trying to destroy your job because they want it. I've worked in that place. Thankfully, I've been here for 22 years, so I've had an active part in growing and developing that. And I believe, and hopefully some of my coworkers will say this, that they will hear this and say, this is true, but I believe we work hard at caring about people. And when you truly care about people and their development and their growth and their career and their families and what they have to give, then you have an honest, compassionate place. When you don't care, that's when it goes backwards.
Everybody's disgruntled.
Everybody's disgruntled. Everybody feels like it's not equal playing field. There's no equity. And equity isn't always the same. I need to point that out. Because we are human, what we want is different. Mm-hmm. What one person wants is they want to be out the door at 5 o'clock every day because they have a toddler at home and that home time is super important to them.
Yeah.
They need to be out on time. And respecting that and making sure they get that is incredibly important.
That's huge.
While another person, what they have is Frisbee golf at 4 o'clock on Tuesdays. They want to be out on Tuesday. Can I get out on Tuesday? Everybody's thing is different.
You let the Frisbee golf person get off early?
Yes.
Nice.
You bet.
You ever played disc golf?
No. No, I'm not an athlete. I sit in the background and I'm more the sit on the beach type of girl.
Yeah. I played one time last year. I played. It's fun, but I was terrible at it. Terrible.
See? Fear. Just keep playing and you'll be good at it.
So how do you build teams that trust each other, that can perform well?
I wish I had a special answer to that. I think it's blameless problem solving. When we can take the fear away, people will be curious and they will try different things. Whenever we act out of fear of whatever it is, repercussion of any kind, then we're not going to get the best out of people and we're not going to get trust. We're not going to trust that when I messed up, you're going to make a big deal out of it, and so I'm not going to try again, right? Yeah. I need to trust that I can try. I need to trust that if I do mess up, you're going to teach me.
Right.
Teach me how to do it right.
That's how you build that trust. It's almost like an unconditional love aspect. If at first you don't succeed, pick yourself up and try again. I think Aaliyah said that, right?
That's right.
So when it comes to differentiating, like developing people versus managing them, like how do you draw that line? Like, what's the difference?
Well, I think they're very different. So being a leader is not being a manager.
Right.
We manage tasks. We lead people. We manage what needs to be accomplished during the day.
And I'm sorry, if you train people and lead people correctly across the board, then
there's no managing that needs to happen because
you won't have to micromanage.
Yeah, they know what they need to do.
Yeah,
right?
Sorry, go ahead.
No, but you're right. It's absolutely the truth. If you understand your job and you've learned all of the things that you need to do, you're just going to do your job. Leading is understanding people's unique gifts and what they have to give.
Thank you.
And that's not just business. We're human, right? Mm-hmm. We're all different at different things. So figuring out who's really analytical and detail oriented and who's the visionary and who can create that crazy PowerPoint that you would have never thought about, right? Putting people where they succeed, understanding those strengths and playing to those strengths. That's what a leader does. They understand differences in personality types and knowing that I'm an Enneagram 8. I don't know what you are. I'm going to guess you're a 3. And you're going to go take the Enneagram later. Just kidding. But knowing that and knowing that I show up differently than you, I'm always going to show up differently than you.
Right.
That doesn't mean I can't support you. We are always going to have things that are harder between us because we're different people. That's not wrong. It just is. When we embrace the is, it's beautiful. It's beautiful that we're all unique. But yet we're not given the space to be unique. We're trying too hard to put everybody in a cookie cutter.
It's so counterintuitive. And
Mm-hmm.
what do you think a lot of companies get communication wrong and how they communicate with their like subordinates and just people in the company across the board?
We get communication wrong when we don't ask what's in it for me. So if I'm writing a communication to any group of people, I need to understand what's in it for them. Mm-hmm. Why are they interested? Why do they want to do it? Why would they support this? How do they know to support this? So making sure that we're really writing to the audience and that audience understands the why. And when we understand the why, are we not more apt to support?
100%.
But we don't spend enough time explaining the why, just dictating.
Why is that?
Well, I
People
think
just rushing?
that's part of it for sure, is we're rushing to get through something. We've got 100 things on our desk and we're just flying them off our desk as fast as we can.
You're very mindful with your approach, obviously.
Not always.
A lot of strategic planning.
I do a lot of strategic planning, but I'm not always mindful. And I think that my employees would tell you my emails are very direct and short.
Nice.
I don't use a lot of words. It is nice when I just want a task done. It's not nice when there's more to ask.
Yeah.
So being clear about when there's more to ask.
Okay. Now, the business landscape, you might have, I'm sure you touched on this earlier. How do you see AI changing that?
Well, in the business aspect, I see any jobs that are rule-based. And so finance jobs are rule-based. Yeah. But anything that you can think of that's rule-based, they will be automated. So be adaptable.
Hey, yeah, so what kind of advice would you give people in that situation right now to go ahead and prepare themselves? Like, you got to, like...
Work on your soft skills. Work on what it looks like to have an open mind. Growth mindset versus fixed mindset is a program out there that, psychologists talk about, and you really need to have that growth mindset of continue to be curious, learn the skills to be curious. Don't automatically go in with, can't be done that way. What if it could be done?
And like you said, the obstacle is fear. What kind of advice would you give them? Like a general word of advice is how to overcome whatever the fear is.
Overcoming fear.
And there's a lot of layers to that, but I don't know.
Well, how many things do you really have to be afraid of? Yeah. I mean that. I mean, if you look at the worst case scenario and it's not that bad, then why are we afraid? Why are we afraid if somebody laughs at us or thinks it's silly? Why? I don't have this huge fear mindset. So I'm very thankful for that. Right. I don't even use the word fear in my vocabulary when people talk about failure. That's the word I really meant. I don't use the word failure in my vocabulary. People talk about, I failed at that. Like, what did you fail at? You tried it. So what? It didn't turn out the way you thought it would. Is that failure? You didn't make a home run. That's not failure.
I think the real failure comes when you don't try again, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Just keep trying. Because I'm sorry, last time I looked, nobody learned how to walk overnight either. My sweet little grandbaby is 8 months. She's crawling right now. She crawls everywhere. She's the cutest thing. But think about what we would be like if we had that mindset again. Every day she gets up so excited to just move a little bit further, so excited to pull herself up on a chair, so excited to try and put one foot in front of the other. We lost that as adults. We lost it.
You're telling the truth.
Yes. Why did we lose it? We lost it because of peer pressure, expectations, all of the other things in the world, perceived failures.
Yeah. When it comes to AI, do you think the general population are underestimating it or overestimating it?
I think they're afraid of it.
Back to fear.
I think they're underestimating it because they don't understand it.
Mm-hmm.
And the general population has taken no time to try and understand it. There are people that do. There are situations. There are a lot of people that use ChatGPT as their extended browser, right? And now we're going to plan our dinner on chat instead of on Google because it's faster and it's easier. But people that really get into it and use it like a business partner in the ways I was talking about earlier are rare. There are not a lot of people that do that. When I show examples, people are always blown away. Like, what? You just did that? Yeah, I did. Isn't it cool? So back to the curiosity, being naturally curious. Jump in.
What's the best advice you can give young professionals that are about to go into the workforce to be as best prepared for AI as possible? I know, like, learn about it, but do you have steps on how they can learn? Or?
Yeah, so as far as learning, there are courses out there, there are certifications for it, there are all kinds of things. All of that's great from an educational perspective, from a textbook perspective. I know I said this in the symposium. I think that really the biggest amount of learning that anybody can do are the soft skills learning that we're not teaching in school. Figure out how to be resilient, how to be adaptable, how to have better emotional intelligence, how to regulate yourself, regulate your emotions, know when to speak up, influence, how to influence others and when. These are not skills we teach in school, and they are all skills that we need with AI and in everything we do.
I had like a light bulb moment going. It's something crazy, but I feel like you could probably type up something or come up with some type of plan to implement in schools to prepare the youth for future generations. Like I said, brilliant. I'm serious.
I have thoughts, but I don't know how you turn it into textbook learning, and I think that's the difference. Is this is all experiential learning, which I think colleges should do. So to your point, if we sat in roundtables like this in class all day and talked about our feelings and how we deal with this, how different would that be?
There has to be a way to somehow implement like your ideas. I don't know. I mean, have you thought about talking to like officials, like school people, that like superintendents and whatnot?
I have not, but I have been asked before, not just you.
Okay. I know I'm not the first person that's approached you about that. There's no way.
If I would help talk through, what education in the future could look like in this, because I think there's a lot of opportunity. I look at my own children, for example, and I failed them in many ways to not be prepared for what the world looks like. And my children come from an entitled generation. The next generation is coming from this AI generation of knowledge. The knowledge at your fingertips is just ridiculous, right? And we've never focused on what it looks like to be truly resilient, and how we teach that. I don't know. I'm going to put some thought in this because now you've got me spinning around it. I have a young girl that rents from me, and she's moving out. One of her roommates isn't. And one of her roommates, I said, you don't need to paint your walls. I like the color blue. That's beautiful. Don't even worry about it. You can leave it. And the other girl, I said, your wall is bright crimson orange, and I need you to repaint that wall back to gray. That wall's terrible. And I got 17 pages of text about why that wasn't fair, why they weren't all treated the same. And I responded to her finally, and I said, I don't understand why you would want to punish your roommates also. Because yes, I can follow the lease and have everybody paint their walls back to gray. So maybe that was the right answer. I shouldn't have given flexibility to one and not the other. I said, I will follow the rules then. If that's what you want. I made it her choice. If you want to punish your roommates, then have a conversation with them about painting your wall.
That's a nice little Jedi mind trick, in a way.
I'm like, wow, I just got 17 pages of text because you painted the wall orange on a rental that you knew you had to pay back. But it's not fair because I didn't tell her roommate to. But that's what we've created in our youth. The lack of resilience. Why is it that? And you knew the rules.
Yeah. And I think that's why conversations like this are very important, especially coming from somebody like you. I had a little dose of imposter syndrome earlier. After you mentioned it, I'm like, what am I doing? What are we doing? Like, I know you mentioned your upbringing, but I do want to ask if there's anything specific that comes to mind, like how you handle like pressure, being like the CFO, and like how do you stay grounded when times get tough or they don't go the way you feel like they should.
I think I have really good breathing techniques. I mean that really.
No, I got a book right there about breathing techniques.
Yeah.
Please enlighten me on what you do.
I mentioned earlier I get to a place of peace.
Yes.
I have to calm my whole body down. I know that my heart can race, and inside does not look anything like the outside. People comment, "You're always so calm." Oh no, let me tell you, all this stuff in here is still going off, right? But learning how to regulate that and breathing techniques, they talk about the box exercise. It's real. That's my only advice. Learn how to calm yourself in the crisis, any pressure, anything. I will not tell you that I have not been decomposed and lost my crap and looked really stupid many a times in my world, in my life, in my career. Absolutely.
Hey, I've spiraled myself. So,
yeah.
Hey.
Absolutely, I've done it. I do it less as I've aged.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost like it's just life experience. Because I'm going to tell you, man, I was spoiled as a kid.
Were you?
I know you said that they were entitled. I don't know if that's the exact same thing, but I made good grades. More so positive reinforcement, but I was very spoiled. Didn't have like a lot of chores and stuff like that. And I think that goes back to what we were talking about earlier about just being a part of the village, having responsibilities as a child to prepare yourself. Or you want that for your kids to prepare them for the future, for everything that's going to come at them. Can't send them out there into the wilderness without teaching them how to, tie, a spearhead against a stick and go hunt.
I agree. And I think that happens through community. I think that we need like-minded community, whether that's church or some other like-minded set of people. I think it's very important. We learn a lot through other people. We need people in our corners that we trust with our children. And there are a lot we can't trust, so do not get me wrong in that statement. But we're not this way in our friendships, we're not this way in our marriages, and we certainly can't be this way as parents.
Right.
If we think about anybody in our lives that fulfill all our buckets, try to come up with one. I have the best friend that's funny, that I want to hang out with when I'm sad. I have the best friend that's solid with good advice when I need something that needs advice. I have the friend that is going to go on a vacation at a moment's notice. Hey, I want to go. Everybody fills a different bucket, including our spouses. When we ask somebody to fill all the buckets, we have set them up to fail.
Yeah, it's not fair to them or you. And it's back to the basics of human resources.
That's right.
That's where it starts. Before you even get a job, we need to think about human resources. Like, we're all resources. We can use each other symbiotically.
Absolutely.
I'm not going to talk about symbiosis again, but that's really like my mindset with this whole thing I got going on.
I love that. I love that.
How do you trickle autonomy in the workplace?
Well, I believe everybody is autonomous until you've proved to me you can't be. I'm not a micromanager. Nice. So that's back to the blameless problem solving. If you don't chastise people for what they do wrong and you teach them when there are teaching moments, they are more apt to continue to be autonomous. People are not autonomous when they don't understand their expectations. They don't understand what the job entails. They don't understand what they need to have do and when. And if they can't operate autonomously, then there is another problem. It's a skill set problem. It's an expectation problem. Maybe they don't know the job. But there is something else, because we as people, I don't believe, want to be micromanaged. We're micromanaged when you have somebody that doesn't trust you or you don't know your job. One of those two things.
Or maybe that person doesn't trust themselves. They don't know what the hell they're doing.
Well, sometimes that happens, but if you want to be autonomous in what you do and you can't do it in this job because you don't know what you're doing, then maybe you're in the wrong job. Right? Maybe you're in the wrong job. I got a name of
a company where you need to go train the manager. I mean, do you train like managers and stuff in different companies?
I have not done any of that, but that, I mean, maybe in
Has anyone else ever brought that up to you? That idea?
Yeah.
Okay.
I could see doing that in a future life.
Absolutely. What would you say to your younger self if you could go back in the past and sit down, and maybe around like a teenage, like you're like high school, kind of trying to figure out what you want to do?
High school. I went to 7 different high schools. 7. I would say, hang in there, because life doesn't look anything like what you think it will.
Wait. Now, during that journey, at what point did you move out of Wyoming and come over here to the East Coast?
So I moved here in 2008. Okay. I went from Wyoming to Idaho to Boise, Idaho to Fort Lauderdale.
That's the year I graduated. That's why I was smiling. Sorry.
I love it.
Yeah, go ahead. It's kind of, it's a circumstance. We'll say it's a coincidence.
I love it. Yeah. So I moved to Fort Lauderdale and then Charlotte. So just a little bit of a roundabout.
Yeah. I've never been to Wyoming or Florida for that matter, but I do plan on visiting Florida. I like to go out to Wyoming too. I got into hunting recently, so whenever I get some whitetail under my belt, I want to go out there and try to get like a moose or an elk or something.
It's beautiful country. You absolutely should do it. I
mean, I don't even want to ask any more questions. You covered everything. You know what I'm saying? I mean, this was awesome. I will say this, though. I'm going to ask this question. And if you could, like, look directly into the camera whenever you answer it. If there's anyone that's, like in a situation, a mindset that are, like, stuck or they want to make a change with their, like, back to that fear thing, what's the best first step and what type of advice would you give them?
I love this one. I said earlier that your life is not defined by your past. It's defined by your choices. Your next first step can be 100 of them, but you got to take the first step. Sometimes it's hard to look at choices and understand what they are. I am a person that I am reflective, but I spend a lot of time on the right and the left column, what must have, what I won't have, and everything else in between is go. So that's okay. But understanding what you won't have and won't do is critically important to getting to what you must have. So until you're ready to shed some of that, you can't get to the better self. And that's super important. And it just takes one choice. And you'll step back. It's always 2 forward, 1 back. Always, you don't get there overnight. And then the question would be, what help do you need to get there? So what keeps falling back? Is it new friends? You are a product of the people you hang out with and the books you read. So make sure that you're setting up yourself for success. And sometimes that's hard. Sometimes that means putting things behind you, including family. Be the best version of you.
And how can people access your book if they want to buy it?
Oh, I love that. So I have 2 things going on. So I have a book that is specifically for breast cancer, and it is an anthology of 22 stories. It's beautiful, and I have escaped me on the actual title of it. It's Rising Above's Journey of Breast Cancer Stories. Shit, you should have not put me on the spot for that one.
That's okay. But I can when I go back and edit it, I can put like a picture of it in post-production or something like that.
Yeah, Gillian Lichota is the prime author of that. It's beautiful for anybody that's going through tragedy and what that looks like to survive tragedy. This book is very close to my heart because it is all stories of young women that are metastatic, meaning they are terminal. And to me, it breaks my heart to see a 30-year-old woman with children and watching her future fade. It's really important to me that we do more for this group of women. I am fortunate enough that I am over 50, and although breast cancer was hard for me, it was not hard for me in the same ways. It was not hard for me in the ways that alter your life. My life is very good, and I am very blessed, and I have lots of grace in my life, and I know that. And I went to treatments every day where women didn't have that, where they were single, they didn't have a spouse, maybe not a job. And my most favorite of these is they have a toddler whose husband decided it was just too much and left them. So every day I watch these women and their stories. And I got involved in the book because of that. Anyway, the second book that I'm working on right now is also an anthology. It is unnamed yet, but I will let you know when it comes out. It will probably be Unseen Heroes. And the book is the caregivers and the caregivers' story and the people behind the people with illness, the people that stand up in the face of adversity and support those that are going through it. So I talked about earlier that I didn't have the best upbringing. My mother was an addict. My mother died of leukemia. And when my mother was sick, I brought her home to live with me and to care for my mother. And it was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. And that story is much different than the breast cancer story.
Wow. Thank you for sharing all that.
Yeah.
You're very humble.
Thank you.
Because brilliant is an understatement, in my opinion. You know,
appreciate that.
Your trials and tribulations, everything you've been through, carved you to be this amazing human being. Seriously.
I appreciate that. I think that I was put here for a purpose. I think that my children's upbringing, as though it wasn't perfect, it was better than mine, and it was purposeful. And I would state that I think it is the legacy of changing lives, because my children will never know what it was like to have a parent that was an addict, and their children will never know what it was like to be poor. And that's changing lives. That's changing history.
Breaking generational patterns.
That's right.
You know what I mean? A lot of people say curses, but I think when we recognize the patterns and for real make that change inside ourselves and start working on those patterns and making that change, that's how we do it.
That's right. My children know no different. Part of that hurts me, though. I will say there is a part of me that hurts. My 20-year-old daughter is more entitled than the boys. The boys are all very different than the girl. Mm-hmm. She's younger. And I look at that and I'm like, how did I raise a child that thinks she deserves this much? I have not figured out the balance between helping and hindering an entitlement, because there is a certain amount I want to give.
Gotta pray for discernment.
I want them to have.
Pray for discernment. Yes. Wow. Regarding your company, if someone was interested in y'all's services, like what separates y'all from the competitors out there? People.
Very clearly people. We spend a lot on our culture. I mean that. We believe in a high-performing culture. We believe in our values. We believe in not just our values, our fundamentals. We have 25 fundamentals, one of them being practice blameless problem solving. We have fundamentals that to the core of who we are the behaviors that we require. And we invest in our people. We invest in what it looks like to develop and career paths and all the things. Most of our competitors don't do that.
Boom.
By design.
Right. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Carmen Johnson. This has been another episode of the Dap A Hug Podcast. Thank you for my listeners. Peace and love.